I remember staying up until roughly 4:30 in the morning, working on a custom prop for the Stick Babe character in order to work on a brief walking scene in which she walks into the trailer park where Ginger and Kent are in. And I've pretty much and I at last finished that custom prop not too long ago. I think I finished it sometime between me waking up at roughly 9:30 in the morning, after going to bed at around 5:15 in the morning, which is quite fortunate. I got lunch at around 11 after doing my weekly COVID pool test at the Cirque. And waking up at 9:30 gave me some time to hydrate myself right before that 30-minute window started, in which you can't eat or drink anything minutes before you take the test. Although I typically set the appointments for 11 in the morning so that I can then go to get lunch immediately afterwards. I go about 20 minutes early because that's allowed. I'm not entirely sure if you're allowed to go earlier than that. And there's not necessarily a need to try that. Though there's a possibility I might. The Eagle Hall is just about a few minutes walk at most away from the Cirque. And that assumes you don't take a shortcut through the grass, so to speak. When I get done with the COVID pool test, which I believe was a little easier than the first time I did that spitting test, thanks to, again, that extra hydration, since I think if you're even slightly dehydrated, you'll struggle to produce sweat. I mean saliva. I think you have to be seriously dehydrated before you would struggle to produce sweat. The test process involves logging into your profile through some kind of medical third-party website. Although technically, by definition, I believe an online website is always third-party. Or maybe third-party refers to something you download off of the web, in which case that medical website can't be third-party because it's online. You don't have to download anything. I recently completed an upgrade on the Elixir manufactory. Before I can continue on, I have to do some research, it seems. I'm not entirely sure if that research is available within the fairies chapter I'm currently on or not. Also, walking back to Eagle Hall after completing my COVID pool test, about 3 minutes before 11 in the morning, I went over and took a shortcut through the grass and crossed the street in the middle, and then took a shortcut for the grass again. And I found that there was a lighter laying on the ground on the grass. So I picked it up, put it in, I believe, this pocket, and then turned it in at the front desk. At the Eagle Hall lobby. You don't want to mess with the lighter because you could easily either burn yourself or start a fire if you're not careful with it. And I'm willing to bet, since I randomly found it on the ground outside, it was already defective or broken to an extent. I didn't take a picture of it. I was kind of too focused on returning it, so I didn't take a picture of it, but I believe it was white. It had some kind of Batman thing on it. Perhaps maybe at some point I can ask about that lighter in order to serve as a refresher of what it looked like. Yeah, most likely tomorrow, I would imagine. I got lunch at the first floor of the Harrison building. I mean, the second floor. That's where the Harrison Dining Hall is. And then I had my national security class in which I took down these notes. And actually, I did my best to participate, giving my thoughts on these. In particular, at both points in which these were mentioned, I stated that what was currently in place was adequate in that it makes sense that they're in place and that they shouldn't be removed. But for this part, I said that there was a gap in it, in that I believe they're Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda fighters and Taliban fighters. I believe that's the groups they belong to. Either way, they experienced some pretty inhuman conditions at military detention facilities such as Guantanamo Bay due to some kind of loophole because they're part of a non-state actor. They're not part of a government's or a country's military. So I believe the United States and other countries involved in the war on terror were able to subject them to some pretty inhumane conditions, including the use of torture. As a sort of perhaps maybe misguided attempt to try and protect the public from terrorist activities. Although, I believe the better way to solve the problem is to strike at the roots, such as poverty and illiberal democracies and corrupt governments. From 9 to 10 at night, I ate most of this sleeve or can of Pringles. I believe it was before that point. I believe I made these drawings. I think I made them after my personnel committee meeting at around 5 p.m. For which I couldn't really think of anything to say, despite trying to. I believe I accidentally fell asleep. because I was lying down on this mattress at the time. In the last hour or so before I headed out to the nest to pick this up, since when I got lunch, I wasn't really hungry and so didn't eat the whole thing at once. And then I ate the rest at around 4:30 p.m., by which time all that was really left was some carrots and the Jamaican beef patties. Still, though, I didn't really feel much like getting dinner at the Harrison Dining Hall at around 7 today. I've got about $179 in dining points left. I generally don't think it's worth it to produce night essence at these night farms until I have them at their maximum level. And for the past hour, I've been working on what has turned out to be a frame-by-frame animation for a prop within Camtasia Studio, so it'll line up with something I recorded off of a preview video and Rapper Offline using Bandicam. It's a pretty tedious process, but it's currently the best process I know. I also did a VHL Central assignment regarding the future tense. In Spanish. And for the interactive grammar tutorial, the professor character got the class's attention with a gong, because I saw a bell, I initially thought he was going to ring that bell again, but no, he reached behind his desk and hit a gong with a mallet. It was pretty interesting. That work on that custom prop involved trying to create a line like this, only with the ends pointed, so to speak, so that the center part is thickest. For something circular in a sort of sense. So that it would be used for cleavage lines. For a side view that was only a little bit in the front. Maybe 3/4 instead of halfway between a front view and a side view, as last time. Well, that work in creating it all I tried out a variety of different ideas. Various shape props within Vyond Studio. Some dabbling in what is essentially Microsoft Paint, but for Windows 10. Extensive video productions and downloads of the prop of a Vyond video I have within Vyond that I typically use one of the videos in which I typically use for helping me to make custom props for the main Vyond videos. The raw video files that I combine together now within Camtasia Studio for Dan Hamming episodes. Excuse me. It's not exactly easy for me to get rid of cultural buildings. I'm already way above what's needed for the maximum culture bonus. And despite everything all the upgrades I've made. Though I think those upgrades focus on the ferry settlement more than anything else. I'd like to get a city expansion for the ferry settlement so I can move this out of the way of the ferry portal site and get it up to the maximum level. If I did that, maybe I could even build a fourth night farm, which would be pretty good. That because the night essence seems to be a whole lot more scarce than the Amosa. Though maybe at some point soon I'll produce night essence anyway. I don't want to get myself cornered into a situation in which I end up having way too much of the settlement goods, but can't use them up and end up wasting them because I don't have the necessary research points to activate all the various technologies. I also when I went to the nest around 10 at night, it was raining at that point. So I sort of folded the paper bag in which, while I was there, I filled it with trash in my dorm room and took it out of my dorm room and dumped it off at the laundry room. Since there's some bins that often have trash bags in them and whatnot, I typically assume that the more to the left it is, the more it's for trash, but the third one from the left was the only one that appeared empty enough for me to dump that bag of trash into. And so that's ultimately the can that I dumped it into. Looking to dump it into the one the most to the left as possible.